Hey everybody, it's the good guy here, back with episode number 2. Today's January the 17th, 2019. Coming to you after a little gym session. That's how you get the day going. That's how you get the blood pumping. I was just thinking about how ever since I got some sobriety, back in the day I used to drink a lot, do drugs, and I used to, when I was living in SoCal, that was what, kept me going every day. I was go at the beach walk, and I think it was up to like 30 miles a day. That was a good motivator, a good natural drug, natural endorphin booster. And as a healthcare professional, just recently, I'd say in the last year, I've really got on that healthy bandwagon. As a healthcare professional, what you learn about is, Western medicine, pharmaceuticals. It seems like there's a pill for everything, and there's always a new pill coming out for everything under the sun. You gotta hang now. Here's a pill. Supplements, natural stuff, diet. It's not rocket science, but it's amazing how many people don't realize, what you put in your body is in fact important and may in fact be able to heal us, rather than, keep us sick, and that's a different topic. There's we could have videos on videos about diet, healthcare, medicine in 2019. Yeah, Jim, way to go. Get the day going, a little sweat. I think kind of dry it up, a little greasy, as the weasel would say. There's a little bit going on in the news today. Pelosi, Nancy Pence Pelosi, she's all over the place. It's funny because I used to, every time I see her in the news, I get pissed off. It's like, oh, she's evil, and then she is, I don't know if she's just evil and knows what she's doing, or if she really believes what she's spewing, or if she's just, has dementia. I can't really. I've had lots of conversations with, people who are political and claim to know, what goes on inside the minds of politicians. But I used to get worked up, and now, every time I see her, it's promising to know that, the Democrats have that working against them, It's a blessing in disguise, It's like God has said, here, patriots, here's a blessing, a present. But she's coming out and saying that we should change the, or hold off on the Supreme Court, the State of the Union address, and said, she's requesting that President Trump write a letter to Congress. And Laura Ingraham, who's one of the few people on Fox that I actually listen to, she's smart, she's brilliant, she's a patriot, and she says it how it is. She said she recommended, it was actually a Twitter, ABCD, check it, what do you think you should do? One of the recommendations was have the State of the Union address from the border, and I was like, that would be awesome. I think they should just set it up and, just put it on every media outlet out there. And that way you can just, come at the left with, hey, when it's from the actual ground zero where this state of emergency is actually occurring, we got to do something. Got to do something about that border. That's for sure. So she's flapping her yap. Ingram's came out and said, let's do it there. Whether or not that's going to go down, I don't know. I just thought it was a good idea for her. RBG, Ruth Darth Bader Ginsburg. She's been in the news this last week. She speculation about whether she's still on the earth with us. One of her advisors or a spokesperson said she's Again, she has to delay. She was set to speak somewhere, but she's supposedly recovering from some nodules they removed from her lungs. She had a partial lobectomy. But that would definitely be big for President Trump to appoint a third Supreme Court justice. We've already had Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. I mean, if you saw any of that circus, I'm sure you can imagine what a third appointment would be. There's speculation that it's going to be a woman this time, Amy Barrett Coney, I think is her name. Coming from, the party that is supposed to be for women's rights and empowering women and, gender equality, I'm sure they definitely find something to slander with. In fact, Q has hinted that, they're already gearing up, for the fight, for the circus. So staying tuned for that. I'm excited to see what comes down the pipeline any day. We could get the news that RBG is no longer with us. And let's see what else is going on. Pelosi was also talking about, along with rescheduling or putting off the State of the Union address this month, she's talking about shutting. The government shutdown is obviously part of that, and I read an article that was talking about how this shutdown is actually can be used as an opportunity for the administration to cut down the size of government. This government over decades has just become bloated and just one huge bureaucracy. I mean, I was a government insider, an administrative insider, said that 15% of their job is aimed at, promoting the administration's, patriotic policies, bettering America, making America great again. I mean, that's what Trump is all about. He said 85% is countering Obama leftovers, people who are just part of the swamp, part of the bureaucracy, people who are just basically collecting paychecks, they're just a waste of space. Dustin Nemos actually talked about, he compared big government to a drug, and if who knows what we could do with all this waste, all these agencies that are just sucking up tax dollars, Who knows what our healthcare, the state would be, I mean, if we could funnel some of this garbage, this money that goes to wasteless agencies, I mean, we could, veterans, education, I mean, there's so much that we could do with waste that is obviously not being missed by average Americans. I mean, the shutdown's been going on for almost a month now. Have I felt it? No. Have you? Probably not. I mean, I don't want to sound cold. There's people out there that are, just maybe not getting a paycheck from what I understand, from what I've read. Government, some of these EPA, what's another one? The IRS. I sure as heck don't miss them. I do not miss the IRS. Do everything I can to stay out of their sites. But these people definitely they get benefits that most likely you and I don't appreciate. So Dustin Nemos, he talked about getting big government as a drug, and if we can. What getting off drugs is painful, Personally, somebody who kicked drugs, kicked alcohol, kicked heroin, it was painful, Weeks of pain, suffering, and you got to learn how to live without it, We can learn how to live without big government in our lives, Some of these employees are going to have to, go back to Indeed, jobs, .com, get a trade, education. My heart goes out to them, but it's you got to pull the Band-Aid off. You got to let it bleed. You got to Change is tough. Change is painful, but it can be done, and we can get through it together, Where we go one, we go all. A little something I saw, changing modes as far as sports. Big college football fan. Go Devils. It's not a gang sign there. Trevor Lawrence, he's a great kid. He's the quarterback from Clemson Tigers. They were interviewing him recently, and the guy's a stud. He's just a good human being. And the guy is a true freshman. Took down Nick Saban. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are excited to see him go down. Were they good? Is Bama good? Yeah, but it's kind of like let's get some fresh blood in there. Let's get some new faces. And he talked about who he is not what he's become and what he is, where he's going doesn't define him. The football doesn't define him. He talked about God and his faith, and that was promising. And he also talked about how the trip to the White House, where because of the government's shutdown, they didn't have culinary staff on hand. So what they do, and they send out for some hamburgers, and salads, and those kids loved it, But what happens? The mainstream comes out and they're talking trash. He talked about how the first ladies were gonna get some salads together, and what do they do? The mainstream CNN talks about how, that's sexist to have the first ladies, make some salads for, these football players, it's insanity, But they had a good time, Trevor Lawrence said he'd love to go back, and so Dabo Swinney and Trevor Lawrence, I'm on the Clemson bandwagon. But Sun Devil for life. Looking forward to seeing what happens with them. They're getting rid of an assistant coach. He's a first year, 1 year only. He's heading to Michigan. Sean Newell. He was a former BYU Cougar, and he's going to Michigan, going to play for Harbaugh. Which I can't blame him. But man, you could play in Tempe. You could play in nice weather. You could play. It's got a lot going on. Or Michigan. Sorry if you're from Michigan, but it's cold. I would not want to play. Wouldn't want to play football. If you're a Patriot from, Ann Arbor, God bless you. But we got some nicer weather down here. And sad to see him go. He was a first year Herm train member and got us off to a good start. But, the way he was actually a former NFL player. He played for Pittsburgh. And that's what Herm Edwards, and the Herm the Perm, as a buddy calls him, is getting people, with NFL experience. We're trying to do like Bama does. We're trying to create an NFL factory over here. So it's promising. 2019 season is going to be good for ASU and the Herm experience. That's about it. That's about all I got for today. If you like what you've heard, go ahead and click like or subscribe. I just want to say, that these are just my opinions. These are my thoughts on current events. What's going on. I'm no expert by any means. I try to stay informed. I try to do my research. I try to question things. Whether it wherever it comes from. Don't. If anybody's telling you what to believe, you should question that, Find out for yourself, what rings true. What does your heart tell you, what's your intuition, the spirit, whatever you want to call it. Just question, So anybody's telling you what to believe, I'd be skeptical. I was thinking about giving a shout out to Dan Bongino. That guy's a stud, he's entertaining. Whenever I get a chance, I tune into his podcast. He's a brilliant guy, a former Secret Service member. He's got a lot of good insight. I think he's got contacts, a lot of these people with successful YouTube outlets that are online, media pundits. They, former government experience. They definitely it helps to know people. It helps to have insiders, and that's. So check out Dan Bongino show, guys. He's fiery. He's fiery. So like I said, click like, subscribe. This is the the good guy, and have a good one. I'll talk to you later.